Hello, welcome back to the Evolution of Mom. I hope you like last week's episode with Alan Lazarus. I had such a great time talking to him about all things fulfillment and boundaries and learning about your core values and how important that is. And I just feel like we touched on so many things that all women and moms really need to hear for anything they're doing in life. I think it was such a beautiful conversation. Today, I kind of want to dive into the platform that is the evolution of mom now, which is my passions and what I feel that women need so much help with are what I like to call the three H's: health, happiness, and hormones. And then I add a fourth one in, that's the harmony between all of them. Now you'll notice that a lot of the podcast so far has been around that health and happiness, that mindset, which I think is so key. And I think podcasts are such a beautiful place to dive into mindset support and mindset shifts. And so that's going to be still a lot of what happens here on the Evolution of Mom. I'm going to constantly bring you guests who are going to add value in those realms of happiness and health and hormones and fulfillment and all the things I really deeply believe that women need in their life. I actually have some really exciting guests coming up soon that I am so excited to share with you. Now, today, I kind of wanted to get into another H of habits. Habits that align or misalign with your health, your happiness, your hormones, and the identity that you form around it all. And I really think that there's this feedback loop that happens between identity and habits and identity. Your habits reaffirm the identity that you're trying to keep, and your identity is running your habits, if that makes sense. I feel like it does. So right now you have an identity. You have something that you deeply believe about yourself. You have this deeply rooted belief system, which you've heard me say stands for BS for a reason. And that runs a lot of what you are not doing in your day-to-day. And maybe that's aligned with your goals or not. But here and me are very deeply rooted and believe that small actions over time create big results. Small, conscious, intentional habits can change your identity, and vice versa. You switching your identity, your belief system about yourself is also going to help you change your habits. So, for example, with me, in the chronic illness community, and I was there myself deeply. I had an identity of being broken, of not being able to be helped, of being to a point where I just had to live with what hand was dealt to me and there was nothing I could do about it. I could survive. I could do the best that I could do to survive all of the things that I had to go to or go through in a day when I was sick. And it took a shift in believing that that wasn't the life I wanted. That wasn't the hand I wanted to be dealt anymore. It took me saying, you know what? I don't want to be in pain every day anymore. I am going to choose to be someone who isn't. And I wish that those words were magic. And all of a sudden the next day I woke up because I believed I wasn't sick anymore. And away I went and lived my life happily ever after. And, that's not what happened. And that's not what happens to us when we make these mental shifts. But what starts to change are our habits and our actions, because we start to believe differently. And we can use and leverage our habits to change and help us change that identity along the way. We can ask ourselves, what would someone who isn't chronically ill do in this moment? What would someone who was trying to heal their body do? And you know what it did for me? It gave me a very open mind. It gave me a reason to be open to everything that I had not been open to before. Because someone who is trying to heal their body is someone who deeply believes that this is not what's meant for them, that the system that they are only using right now to help their body heal is the only system that could maybe help them. And it isn't. so nothing else can help me. That shifted to, well, if I'm going to be someone who is not in pain anymore, who chooses to do whatever she can to be healthy, I'm going to be open to more suggestions. I'm going to be open to more things. And when I made that shift, that's when I decided, you know what? I also need to get to know my body again. I need to know what is serving me and what isn't. So I safely came off of every medication that I was on, and it gave me more clarity. It gave me more confidence. That one little step gave me the confidence and the shift in belief that I have control over what's going in my body. I have control over this little realm. I bet you I have control over more. So I started exploring different modalities, different therapies, things that people and professionals in the past had told me, you know what, that's not going to help you. This isn't something that's regulated, that's normal or common. That's not going to help you. And I allowed those opinions to create my belief. But when I chose to go create my own belief on if these systems could help me or not, because how do we know? First of all, we don't know unless we're going to go try something. And I don't believe that every modality is for everyone, but I do believe that there is a modality out there for you if you keep looking. It's a side note, but I deeply believe that there are so many health modalities out there, people out there who have been through whatever it is that you're going through, that have won, that have shifted their belief system, that has changed their habits, that have identified as someone differently and have gone out and chased that and found it and fixed it. There is someone out there that whatever you're going through has won that situation. And so that's the embodiment that I chose to have. And I beautifully started diving into things like acupuncture. I went for cranial sacral therapy. I discovered a naturopath who helped me understand more of a holistic way of looking at my hormones instead of just the friggin' bits everyone wanted to talk about. It opened my eyes to so many things. And then I learned about detoxing my environment. I was hearing things I never would have been open to hearing before about how maybe plants and oils and proper supplements could help me. Because previous Amy, who was stuck in her belief systems of being broken and no one could help her, would never have been able to hear things like supplements could help you. Things like taking endocrine disruptors out of your environment could help you. I would never have even heard those words. But when I shifted, I could hear them and I wanted to hear them. That's the power of that reticular activating system that I've talked to you guys about before, that piece in your brain that is literally so biased to help you see whatever it is you want to see. So if you're still in the identity and the belief of whatever negative space you're in, I'm going to use my hormone health and my health and chronic illness as an example in this, but feel free to insert whatever it is you're going through. If you're training your brain to see this only, it's going to see this only. If I'm only saying, okay, this is the only system that could maybe help me, nothing else is going to help me. No one can help me. I'm so broken that I can't be fixed and I have to do whatever I can to just survive. Then my reticular activating system is going to show me all of those things to make that true. But when I switched my story, when I decided that I was going to be open to more things, my reticular activating system was open to hearing more things, to showing me more things that were probably already in front of me, but I was too closed off and too in my belief system and in my BS story that I couldn't see them. And so cleaning up my external environment, learning that my internal environment worked together as a community, not just bits and pieces at a time. It was my liver, my gut health, my stress. Ladies, I guarantee anything you're going through, your stress is exacerbating it. And it's that negative feedback loop that happens. It's exacerbating it, which causes more stress. So like breaking that stress cycle is going to be so important. So implementing habits that help you break that stress cycle is going to be very beneficial to you. And you need to become a person who feels worthy and deserving of those stress-free habits so that you can break that cycle for yourself. I feel like that was another little tangent there. I was going there eventually, but I became so open to hearing these things. And because I found the things that worked for me. I found systems and modalities and products and things I could let go of that served my health more. I started to look at my external environment and my internal environment as a community working together. If there are things in your external environment affecting your internal environment, your stress, your hormones, your health, your happiness, that plays a huge role. And this is where we can start forming different habits to help us identify as someone who has healthier habits and vice versa. You can choose in a moment to think differently. That's the beauty of our brain. We can decide right now. I can decide right now that I'm going to be someone who doesn't do or does something from now on. We have that power. And when you step into this space, it has to be from a space of strength and conviction, because the people around you still see you as that other version of yourself. So you have to be able to develop those boundaries. We've been talking about boundaries. I talked about boundaries with Kevin a couple episodes ago. I know Charisse and I did in the beginning as well. And Kevin or Alan and I did as well too. When you decide to change your identity to something that aligns with you more, you have to hold those boundaries with the people that you love so that they can see that with you. It takes time for them to see that, but if you stand strong in these, they're going to come along with you and see that. But the shift in the habits is what's going to get you there. Decide right now who or what you want to identify, what you want to shift. For me right now, it is still someone who is worthy of helping other women. That's a big one for me. Who am I to help women? And then I shift into who am I not to? Who am I not to share everything I have gone through? My combination of schooling and knowledge around women's health from anatomy and physiology perspective to my 15 plus year journey of dealing with all of this myself, the things I've had to learn, the things that I have gone through. My brain is this wealth of knowledge that I've used for myself, that now I am so ready to help other women with. That's where this podcast stemmed from. That's where my public speaking stems from. I do a lot for women's health and public speaking and things, but I had to change my identity of someone who isn't worthy of speaking into women's lives like that to someone who is. And I know that sounds crazy, but our worthiness issues always sound crazy to people who aren't us. We all have our own like weird worthiness issues that we deal with. And they're weird in a beautiful way because they're so individual and people can't see them like we can see them, and they can't see theirs as we can see them, right? And I had to work through a lot of that when I started public speaking, because everyone was so excited to hear what I had to say and to come up to me afterwards and be like, oh my gosh, I feel so heard. I feel so seen. Thank you for sharing your story. I feel the same way. It was like, oh, I had to shift into someone who could not only accept praise, but also continue to serve from that space. And so that was another identity shift that now I created healthy habits around to make sure that I'm feeding that narrative, that feeding that identity. I'm constantly looking up new things, reading things, and helping women. I'm speaking into their lives. And the more I do that, the more it feeds that identity of someone who is going to help women. Do you see how those habits actually feed the narrative? But you have to start them. You have to start the habits before you even feel that identity yet, which is, again, a decision. We're coming up to a time of year where people love to change. They love to say new year, new me, which I think is beautiful. It's very beautiful, but it can also be very negative. And people dive in 110%, which you all know I am not a big believer of. Best example is when I talk about morning routines. If you are someone who wakes up at 8, but decides you want to wake up at 5 so that you can work out, meditate, journal, have a hot cup of tea before the kids wake up, and whatever else is on your list, you're going to crash and burn by Wednesday. You're not going to make it. And that's okay. You haven't failed. You just bit off more than you could chew. You've overcorrected. And we need to have this happy medium in the middle. So if you wake up at 8 a.m., let's try 7:30 for at least a week. I actually believe in doing it longer, especially if you're jumping half hours. 15 minutes, if you can do 15 minutes for a week, that's great. And I think the new year brings out this whole, I'm going to shift everything about myself right now. but you haven't created the habits around doing that. You haven't taken the time or even thought out of what that's going to look like. You've just decided, that's it, I'm going to the gym every day. Create habits of someone who wants to go to the gym every day in small, consistent, in what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional. Thank you. Thank you, brain. Intentional habits. Ask yourself. I love the book from the example from Atomic Habits. If you haven't read Atomic Habits and this is speaking to you right now, that is the book for you. Atomic Habits. The example is a woman lost a pile of weight and she did it in the most beautiful, healthy way because she constantly asked herself, or she told herself, I'm going to be someone who is healthy. I am now going to change my identity to someone who is healthy. And then every day when she would make a choice, she would ask herself, what would a healthy person do in this moment? Which shifted her habits, it shifted her actions, which fed that identity. It can be as simple as that. I'm not saying it's easy, but it can be very simple to change your habits. I now, as a simple habit for my liver, gut, and collectively my hormone health, have a drop of lemon oil every morning in my water. That is now something that if I don't do, it feels weird because it's become a habit, but it's something I adopted a couple of years ago. And it felt weird to do in the beginning because I wasn't used to doing that. I wasn't used to drinking room temperature water with a drop of lemon in it every morning. But as I started to identify even more as someone who was going to be healthier, who was going to support her hormones as naturally and as consistently as possible, I developed these habits. And now it's weird not to do it because I am someone who is conscious of my hormone health because I shifted that. It takes time. It takes intention. It takes awareness of what that new being is that you want to be. And also don't let anyone tell you it's not okay to change. You can shift who you want to be and who you want to identify as in a moment. You can decide right now you want to be healthier. You can decide right now, I am so tired of letting my hormones, my periods, my things run my life. I'm going to find a way to make a change. I'm going to create healthy habits so that that habit narrative feeds my narrative of being someone who's conscious about their body. There's so many things you can put into this field, whatever it is that you're dealing with. Going back to that stress thing, decide to become someone who is worthy of taking care of themselves because they deeply know that the more they take care of themselves, the more the others around them get taken care of. The more we pour into ourselves, the more it ripples out into others. Embody that so that you become someone who loves taking care of themselves, who has habits every day that are so rooted in self-care and in self-love that you are having it ripple out into your life. If you've been listening from the beginning, this is something that Charisse and I in the beginning and I now talk about a lot, is how self-care is the most selfless thing that you can be doing because yours needs to be the cup that you pour into first. Decide to be someone who is going to break that stress cycle, who is going to break out of fight or flight and develop the habits to do so. And when you develop the habits and are consistent with them, your mind and your body catch up and they start believing it too. It's beautiful. It's beautiful how you can like trick your brain and body in these ways, really, but you can control that. And I think that's one of the biggest overview of this is that we have control over these spaces, but sometimes we don't think we do. But you do. You can decide right now what is something that isn't aligning with your life right now. What is something that you could change? What is a habit that you could add or take away? We have a lot of unconscious habits as well. Be aware of what they are. What are your habits when you first wake up in the morning? Are they helping you? Are they hindering you? Maybe they're neutral. Are they aligning with this new goal, this new identity that you want to have? And start there. Start identifying the habits you have now. Do they align? How can you make a small shift to them to align with who you are working on becoming? We have this all or nothing approach in life, and I think that's a mistake. I know it's a mistake. I've seen it. You've seen it in yourself and others when it's all or nothing. I haven't seen results in 2 days. It doesn't work. I went in 110% and I haven't seen results. I'm giving it up. It doesn't work. It's not for me. Maybe it is, and you just didn't give it a chance. Anything you want to do is possible with time, consistency, and intention. Find the people who are in that space who can guide you. Hang out with them. Listen to their podcasts. Go to their book clubs. Be someone who is in a group of people who supports their new identity, because that's going to help you along the way too. There are so many things we can do, so many little shifts we can make to set ourselves up for success and wins in this way. And I am obviously here for you 100% of the way, because that is my deepest, deepest love, is connecting with people in this way and helping them see, especially, I mean, I'm obviously deep into women's health and those kind of things, but that aligns with stress. That aligns with helping you dive into self-care. There's so many things that can be noticed, can be shifted, and can become better habits for you that are more aligned to become what the person you are ready to be. And I know you can do it, because I know you're so worthy of doing that. Because I know and deeply believe that if I can do that, if I can make the shift from someone who was unhealthy, broken, could not be helped, and a complete victim to her situation, to where I am now, anybody can do that with enough time, conscious action, consistency, and intention. So over the next few weeks, I have people coming in who totally align, obviously, because I wouldn't have anyone on here who didn't speak into this space, but who totally align with this realm of health and happiness, with fulfillment and your hormones, and how they all play into this community, and how to have harmony between all of them. And I'm really excited to bring you these people. Thank you for being here. As always, deeply believe in you. You are worthy of healthy habits. Talk next time. Bye.